In this video, we will explore a few different image file formats in order to better understand the proper use of each type of file. This understanding of the different file formats that can be inserted into InDesign CS6 help to ensure you are creating a great-looking document. You may or may not know that digital images can be saved in many different file formats on your computer. Up until this point, it may not have made a big difference to you which type of file you inserted or imported into your documents, which were most likely created in some type of word processing program. First, we'll discuss the differences between vector drawings and bitmap images. We'll take a look at an example of these two types of graphics in order to gain a better understanding between the two. Then, we'll review a list of the most popular file formats that may be imported into your document and discuss when the best time is to use them. A bitmap is defined as a type of image file format used to store digital images. This term comes from computer programming terminology, meaning a map of bits. When you use a bitmap image in your document, you are working with a graphic that is composed of many tiny pixels within a grid. Each one of those tiny pixels within the grid contains information related to its color, and when you put them all together, you see a colorful image. Most computer users never really notice their image is made up of many tiny bits and pixels unless they try to resize the image and notice that it becomes distorted or the edges appear jagged. For this reason, bitmap images usually look the best when they are used at the size in which they were created. Common bitmap formats include JPEG, TIFF, GIF, and PNG, which we'll discuss a little bit later. Vector images are made up of many individual scalable objects, which are defined by mathematical equations, rather than pixels in bitmap images. Because of this, vector images always render at a higher quality and are highly scalable, meaning you can resize them without losing any quality. You won't see the same jagged edges that you would with a bitmap image. Objects may consist of lines, curves, shapes, and they can contain color. Vector images can also exist outside the rectangular shape that bitmap images are constrained to. Because of the high quality of vector images, they are often used for the creation of logos, publications, and professional printing. Although using vector images has many advantages, a disadvantage of using a vector image is that you cannot produce photos as vector images, because vector images can't achieve the continuous, subtle tones of a photograph. Vector images come out looking more like a cartoon. Now that we've discussed the differences between bitmap and vector images, why don't we take a look at two images, one bitmap and one vector, so we can see it with our own two eyes. Notice on my screen I have two images. At a distance, they might look identical, but upon further inspection, we will see they actually differ. Notice as I zoom in on the bitmap image to the left, you can see that the pixels within the image are quite apparent. Notice that the quality of the image has been compromised. I'm going to move to another document that I have open within InDesign to show you what this image would look like if I were to resize it large enough to fill an entire page. Again, notice that the quality of the image is compromised because this image has been saved in a bitmap format. Notice that no matter how far I zoom in on the vector image, the edges never appear to be jagged. Notice that the lines remain clear and the image appears to be of high quality. We do not see any pixels, again jagged edges, blurriness, or anything else. I'm going to move to another document I have open and take a look at the image. Notice what this image looks like when I resize it to take up the entire page. Again, notice that the quality of the image has not been compromised because it's been saved as a vector drawing. Hopefully you can see the clear difference between these two types of formats. Now we'll move on to discuss some of the different digital file formats. JPEG stands for Joint Photographic Experts Group, and it's a very common bitmap image file format because most digital cameras can save images in the JPEG format, which supports 8 bits per each color, red, green, and blue, which is a total of 24 bits. Generally, the JPEG format produces fairly small files because of compression, which is handy when you want to keep your document's overall size at a minimum. The downside to using this common format is that the more times you edit and save the file, the more the quality of the image suffers. Although you can change compression settings for higher quality, you run the risk of creating a much larger file size, which is measured in bytes. In addition to using this file format when capturing digital images with a camera, it's also often used through transmission on the World Wide Web. TIFF, or TIF, or TIFF, stands for Tagged Image File Format, which is a format used to store digital bitmap images. TIFF format saves 8 or 16 bits per color, red, green, and blue, for 24 or 48-bit totals. TIFF originally began as a file format for computers to save scanned images. When the TIFF format was first created, the vision was that this format would be a standard across all scanning machines, so that the consistency would be maintained. TIFF is a useful image archive because, unlike JPEG, which we previously discussed, TIFF uses what is called lossless compression, meaning the image can be edited and resaved and you don't have to worry about losing image quality. Disadvantages of using this type of file format is that it is not widely supported by web browsers, and not all readers can read every type of TIFF file. With that being said, you would not use TIFF files on the web for any reason. However, the TIFF file format is widely used by designers that create printed publications and has become a photographic file standard in the business. GIF, or GIF, stands for Graphics Interchange Format and is limited to an 8-bit palette or 256 colors. Because of the GIF format's limitation for color, it is unsuitable for reproducing color photographs and other images with continuous color. GIF is a suitable bitmap format for storing graphics with few colors, such as diagrams, shapes, logos, cartoons, etc. This format also supports animation and is widely used for animation effects. Much like the TIFF file, GIF files use a lossless compression which allows you to compress the file size without degrading the quality. PNG stands for Portable Network Graphic, which is a bitmap image file format that supports 48-bit true color depth. It also supports lossless compression and a better compression than GIF, resulting in file sizes 10 to 30% smaller. One of the most important features of a PNG file format is the ability to have a transparent background. What does this mean, you might ask? Well, let's find out. I'm going to move to another document within Indesign that has a background color that is blue. As you can see, I have two images displayed again. The top is a PNG and the bottom is a JPEG. The JPEG puts a white rectangle border around the image, which most of the time might not be a problem, but as you work within InDesign more and more, you'll find yourself putting images on more than just a white background, so eventually it may become a problem. The image that is a PNG file on the top was saved as a PNG file, and notice that the white background does not exist, because the background of the image is transparent. PNG files are useful when you want to lay images over color backgrounds. Next, we'll discuss a commonly used vector format, which is an EPS file. EPS stands for Encapsulated PostScript. This file format can contain a combination of text, graphics, and images. These types of file formats cannot be opened in every program, but are able to be generated by all drawing applications such as Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, and of course InDesign. Though Adobe Illustrator is the most commonly used software application for creating EPS files. The vector image that I displayed at the beginning of the video is an EPS file. It's a good idea to save a file you've created in one of the software applications mentioned as an EPS if you plan to send it to a printer and do not know what type of software they're using. Essentially, it's better to send an EPS file rather than an Illustrator file because who knows whether or not the person you're sending it to will have Illustrator. As I mentioned earlier in this video, vector images are highly rescalable, meaning they can be resized and even edited and resaved without losing their quality, because it is not generated by pixels like a bitmap image. EPS images are often used by artists and graphic designers when creating logos, drawings, and other publications. This concludes our tutorial on exploring a few digital image options. Hopefully this general explanation of digital image formats provides you with the basic knowledge needed to make smart decisions about your future publications.